Crisis in the Balkans, turmoil in the Middle East, tensions rising in the Korean Peninsula. Everywhere you turned in the late 90s, a new conflict was brewing. In a world constantly on the brink of collapse, the US Navy was thrust into a relentless race against time, compelled to evolve rapidly to a level where it could effectively respond to these global crises and maintain peace. But hey, have you ever wondered how they managed to adapt so quickly, and what the game-changing submarines were? Well, then you're in luck. Today we'll be going deep into the innovations, iconic vessels, and masterpieces that helped shape this defining era. While there are a myriad of submarines to start with, I can't help but feel the USS Greenville is a standout pick. Named after the city of Greenville, Tennessee, the vessel was the last of the Los Angeles-class submarines to be built with the vertical launch system that could fire Tomahawk cruise missiles. It was commissioned in February 1996, at a time when the US had their hands busy with a lot of conflicts in the Middle East. From anti-submarine warfare to anti-surface warfare, surveillance, intelligence gathering, reconnaissance, and even straight-up strike warfare, the Greenville was one of the more capable submarines of its era, and it boiled down to its design. With a submerged displacement of approximately 6,927 tons and a length of 360 feet, this behemoth's beam was 33 feet. But here's what makes this submarine so special. With its single General Electric S6G pressurized water reactor, driving 2 steam turbines in a single shaft, Greenville could reach speeds of over 25 knots while submerged. Sure, it might not be the fastest by today's standards, but back then, it had everything a submarine needed, and more. 25 knots, paired with its advanced maneuverability, allowed Greenville to quickly respond to threats or relocate to new mission areas with relative comfort. And when you consider the fact that the submarine was equipped with a sophisticated sonar suite, including the BQQ-5 passive-active sonar and the BSY-1 combat data system, it's easy to see why it was such an easy pick for the US Navy in so many conflicts. Additionally, the USS Greenville also carried Mk-48 AD cap torpedoes, Tomahawk cruise missiles, and Harpoon anti-ship missiles, all fired from its 4 21-inch torpedo tubes and VLS. But for all its strengths, the USS Greenville gained infamy in 2001 for all the wrong reasons when it collided with the Japanese fishery high school training ship Ehime Maru from Ehime Prefecture. The collision occurred during a demonstration for VIP civilian guests, in which the American submarine executed an emergency ballast blow maneuver to surface rapidly. As the submarine surged upward, it struck Ehime Maru, and the impact caused the training ship to sink within 10 minutes, resulting in the tragic loss of 9 of 35 people on board, including 4 high school students, 2 teachers, and 3 crew members. The aftermath was crazy. Significant diplomatic tension between the United States and Japan sprung like wildfire as it highlighted the dangers associated with submarine operations, especially in training scenarios close to civilian vessels. Was the Greenville a failure because of it? Certainly not. During its service, the USS Greenville participated in several missions, including intelligence gathering, surveillance, and reconnaissance operations in the Western Pacific and Middle Eastern regions. In fact, it was actually awarded the 2016 Battle E Award from Submarine Squadron 1 after a successful Western Pacific deployment. But let's talk about the pros. To start with, the USS Greenville's teardrop-shaped hull design and anechoic coating made it great at avoiding sonar detection, allowing it to move undetected in enemy waters. Plus, with its advanced sonar suite, the submarine offered amazing target detection and tracking capabilities. In terms of combat, I'd also like to add that the use of Tomahawk cruise missiles made it versatile for both sea and land attack roles. You also have to respect the fact that its nuclear propulsion offered both high speed and maneuverability, both of which are crucial in the field of battle. But of course, it wasn't perfect. Nuclear-powered submarines like the Greenville require regular, intensive maintenance to ensure the reactor's safe operation, which can be both time-consuming and costly. And secondly, despite being one of the most recent Los Angeles-class submarines, some of its systems are less advanced than those found on newer submarine classes, like the Virginia or Seawolf classes. And speaking of the latter, there was absolutely no way we were going to talk about the crucial submarines in the post-Gulf War era without making reference to the USS Seawolf, named after the solitary fish with strong, prominent teeth that give it a savage look. Built during the latter years of the Cold War, The Seawolf class was designed to counter increasingly sophisticated Soviet submarines, emphasizing stealth, speed, and advanced weapon capabilities. And yeah, it doesn't get any better than the USS Seawolf, SSN-21. It was the lead ship of the class nuclear-powered fast attack submarines, and was intended to be the most advanced and capable attack submarine in the world, a goal that it achieved with notable innovations in its design and construction. With a length of 353 feet, Seawolf was a tad smaller than the Greenville, but its beam was larger at 40 feet. Juicing it up was a single S6W nuclear reactor that drives 2 turbines, providing a total of 52,000 horsepower to a single propeller. But before we go into some of its amazing specs, it's also worth mentioning that this powerful propulsion system allowed the Seawolf to reach speeds of over 35 knots submerged, making it one of the fastest submarines in the US Navy. And don't even get me started on its state-of-the-art sensors and processing systems, including the ANBSY-2 combat system, a highly integrated suite that includes advanced sonar capabilities, a fire control system, and real-time data processing. Armament-wise, Seawolf was no slouch either. It was armed with up to 8 26-inch torpedo tubes. Each could launch Mk-48 ADCAP torpedoes, Tomahawk cruise missiles, and of course, Harpoon anti-ship missiles. In total, the vessel could carry up to 50 weapons, making it pretty handy and versatile in a wide range of military operations. However, unlike earlier submarines like the Greenville we just talked about, the Seawolf did not have a vertical launch system. Instead, it used its larger torpedo tubes for launching all of its weapons. On the one hand, the lack of VLS may cause a few grumbles from fans, but on the other hand, this system allows for a broader range of payload options. During its early years, the USS Seawolf was deployed in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans to participate in intelligence-gathering missions, anti-submarine warfare exercises, and other operations that still remain classified to this day. Her commendable service earned her multiple honors, including the Secretary of the Navy Letter of Commendation in 1997, the Battle Efficiency E-Ribbon in 2001, and the Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal from 2002 to 2011. And guess what? The Seawolf is still pretty useful. In 2020, it carried out special operations and made port calls across Europe, stopping at places like HMNB Clyde in Scotland, Gibraltar, and Tromsø, Norway, marking the first US Navy deployment amid the coronavirus pandemic. And this brings me to its weighted pros and cons. Starting with the benefits, the USS Seawolf's advanced noise reduction technology made it extremely difficult for enemy forces to detect. It had an advanced sonar suite, including the BQQ-10 sonar system and wide aperture arrays, both of which offered superior detection and tracking capabilities in both passive and active modes. Also, with its advanced hull coating that's said to absorb sonar pulses and minimize noise, the Seawolf is arguably one of the quietest submarines built. Last but clearly not least, it's kind of a no-brainer, but with more torpedo tubes and a larger payload capacity than its predecessors, the Seawolf is one of the few submarines that can really boast of having the ability to engage multiple targets at once and conduct rapid, high-speed maneuvers. As far as the cons come, the only thing I can think of is that the USS Seawolf and its class are among the most expensive submarines ever built. A unit is said to have cost north of $3 billion. And that's precisely why only 3 Seawolf-class submarines were built out of the original planned fleet of 29 vessels. Looking back though, you can't help but praise its legacy. Despite the limited production, the Seawolf class incorporated several cutting-edge technologies, including a reinforced pressure hull made from HY-100 steel, which allowed it to operate at greater depth than previous submarines. It set new standards in stealth, speed, and firepower, and influenced the development of future submarine classes, such as the Virginia class. Now, we hope you're a fan of the Los Angeles class, because up next is the USS Cheyenne, a Los Angeles-class nuclear-powered fast attack submarine, commissioned on September 13, 1996. As the last submarine built in the Los Angeles class, the Cheyenne took advantage of the crucial lessons learned from its predecessors and incorporated several advanced technologies that made it one of the most capable attack submarines of its time. And here's how it happened. Design-wise, the Cheyenne was also bigger than the Seawolf, and the same with the Greenville, with a length of 360 feet. And just like the latter, It was actually powered by a single S-6G nuclear reactor, which allowed it to reach speeds of over 25 knots submerged. Equipped with 12 vertical launch system VLS tubes and 4 21-inch torpedo tubes, Cheyenne rivaled the Seawolf in versatility. It could launch Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles, Harpoon anti-ship missiles, and even Mk-48 ADCAP torpedoes. Defense-wise, the submarine also featured the AN/BQQ-5 sonar suite, which gave it both active and passive sonar capabilities and enhanced its ability to not only detect and track enemy submarines and surface vessels, but also engage them efficiently. Now, you might want to keep the aforementioned points in mind, as around the 2002-2003 mark, the Cheyenne played a big role during the early stages of Operation Iraqi Freedom, making history as the first submarine to launch Tomahawk missiles during the operation under the command of Commander Charles Doty in 2003. Cheyenne was able to fire its entire arsenal of Tomahawk missiles, thus earning the nickname First to Strike. Beyond Iraq, the Cheyenne continued to support various missions in the Middle East, playing key roles in classified intelligence gathering, surveillance, and other special operations support. And guess what? A few years after Operation Iraqi Freedom, Cheyenne also participated in a series of intense anti-submarine warfare exercises in Hawaiian waters alongside other formidable U.S. Navy assets, including the Seawolf, Greenville, Tucson, and Pasadena submarines. So in a way, all three of the submarines we've talked about so far had intertwining legacies. That said, like any piece of technology, Cheyenne was far from being bone-dry perfect. While the Cheyenne was the last in its class and, in fact, took a lot of crucial lessons from its predecessors, it wasn't exactly the most quiet submarine on the block. Other submarine classes like the Virginia and Seawolf were designed with more advanced noise reduction technologies, and thus blew it off the charts in that department. In a nutshell, as the last submarine in the class that began production way back in the 1970s, the Cheyenne reflected an older design concept, spirit, and philosophy that rightfully needed some refreshing. But hey, don't take this to mean it wasn't successful. With the combination of torpedo tubes and vertical launch systems, the Cheyenne, as earlier stated, is capable of engaging a wide range of targets, from surface ships to land-based installations. It is incredibly effective in a good number of scenarios, and the fact that it could also track and engage enemy submarines and ships effectively is a welcome bonus. Looking back, I can't help but feel the Cheyenne completely excelled in its role of taking vital lessons from predecessors, incorporating novel solutions to many challenges and harsh battle outcomes of the past, and tallying it with amazing functionality. At the time of its construction, Cheyenne incorporated some of the latest technologies available at the time, like an improved sonar system, a more efficient nuclear reactor, and an upgraded combat system capable of processing a vast amount of data to identify and engage multiple threats simultaneously. Who knows? It's probably why, just like the Seawolf, Cheyenne is still much loved. To buttress this, in November 2021, USS Cheyenne arrived at Portsmouth Naval Shipyard in Kittery, Maine, to commence a significant service life extension and upgrade program projected to last 30 months and cost around $315 million. Take nothing away from it. Just like the USS Greenville and the USS Seawolf, the USS Cheyenne boldly illustrates the evolution of American submarine design throughout the Cold War and post-Cold War periods. In a time where America had to act fast to bring peace to regions that were severely nervy and conflict-torn, these three submarines, and a couple of notable mentions like the USS Toledo that was deployed to the Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf to support Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan and later Operation Iraqi Freedom, were definitely winners. And on that note, we drop the curtains on why it was undoubtedly an incredible journey exploring the evolution of the US Navy from 1992 to 2002. If you enjoyed sailing through this fascinating chapter of naval history as much as we did, don't forget to smash that like button and keep the conversation going by sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Also, you might want to make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell turned on, so you'll be the first to know when our latest video gets dropped. Believe it when we tell you that you won't want to miss the next dives here. Here's a big hint. It's going to be way epic.